What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kings Score with me, Vincent Miracle here for Fansided.com, GoldenGateSports.com, and SatKingsNations.com. So be sure to get all of your Kings news from every one of those sites. Joining me, as always, is the great and wonderful Ryan Hernandez. Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Excited for this episode. I've been waiting for this episode for a while now, so let's get started.
Yeah. Before we get into the episode, though, just so everyone knows, this is a versus episode, meaning Ryan and I will bring up one topic. He and I will have each a certain player during this episode. This is a certain player, and we're going to try and convince you, the viewing audience, who is the better point guard. And the debate is who is the better point guard, Jason Williams or Mike Bibby. Ryan, you started out. I had the choice of Mike Bibby because I gave you the choice on the last time we did this segment. This time I chose Mike Bibby, so you were dealt with Jason Williams, which is not a bad deal in my opinion. And so that's kind of where we are with this. But before we get into the episode, before we get into everything that happened, breaking news kind of happened today, if you consider it breaking news. Ryan, can you explain a little bit of this breaking news, because you kind of brought it up to me?
Yeah, the Kings I saw the report on the Bleacher Report that the Kings they are having a little bit of contest going on to see how much knowledge the Kings fans know, how much they know about the draft and picking picks, and they want to have the fans voice their opinion to know what pick they would like, and the winner will get a chance of sitting into on one of their sessions. So I think that is a pretty good prize, if you ask me.
Yeah,
What do you think?
yeah, see, I read it a little bit. Yeah, I saw that there was a little bit of a contest. To me, this is my personal opinion on it. It's kind of a gimme type thing where they're just really trying to keep the Kings name out there in the media. I mean, look, it's been on Twitter now. You see it on the Bleacher Report. I mean, it's getting news around that the Kings are going to be the first time ever letting a crowd consensus of who people think, who fans think the Kings should draft. And of course, I'm going to join this contest. You and I are both going to do it together. We've already decided we're going to team up and try and see what we can come up together and see if we can win this thing. And that's because I love the team. Now, how much of our input really matters, I really think it's probably, if we had to do a scale of 1 to 100 on that percentage, I give it probably 1 to 2%. I really think that the fans thought, and I think also what kind of worries me, and this could just be me overthinking this thing a little bit, is they kind of don't know who they want to draft. And if they can't figure it out, maybe they'll just draft the fan favorite. And that's just what I got from. That's just my consensus, like my thought of they're taking a consensus of what everyone thinks, and they kind of want to get the idea, and they just made it into a contest, got the Kings name out there, and is involving Kings fans, which I think is really cool, and also, just a little on the, hey, here we are, this is what we're doing, get the name out there, Kings fans join in. Which there's no problem with that. Of course, I'm going to join in. I love the team. Ryan, you're going to join in, and I hope all you Kings fans out there join in and get involved, support the team, and support Pete D'Alessandro and the entire crew of what they're trying to do. There's also one more thing I want to get into before we get into this versus episode, which I know some of you fans are really just waiting to see what Ryan and I have came up with in this versus episode. I'm really excited for it. But just for next week, I'm going to give you a quick little overview of what's happening next week. On Monday, coming back to the show, Cowbell Kingdom's James Ham is joining back on the show. A lot of you guys liked what he said and what he used to say about Jimmer, his thoughts on the whole point guard dilemma. Now we're getting into the Rudy Gay, Isaiah Thomas dilemma. I can't wait to get his take on that. He's going to come in and grade the season, give his perspective of what he thinks is going to happen, draft wise. We're gonna completely break down the Kings season and future with James Ham on Monday. So be sure to tune in for that. Friday, we're probably gonna do an episode of Would You Do This? We'll also give you a few of the Kings news that like we've been doing. So I'm really excited for next week. And then the following week, Monday the 19th, be sure to tune in. We're gonna do a special, just pure draft episode because the lottery is that Tuesday. So I'm very excited for all this stuff coming up. Every one of you, thank you so much. Each day we're getting a new subscriber. We've hit 106 views in 4 days. And it's funny how when I started this thing, it was just on a little podcast getting maybe 20 listens. Then to the YouTube videos getting maybe like 25 views. So now we're getting 106 views in 4 days. And I just want to thank all you fans, Ryan, for joining the show, helping us build this fan base. And just again, once again, thank you, fans. So right on to all that. And now, with all that cleared out of the way, we have decided to do verses. And I'm so excited for this. And just like last time, we're going to do a coin flip. And you guys get to see the coin flip. Ryan, because I got first choice, I'll let you call it heads or tails.
I'm going to go with heads.
All right, here it is. It is tails, so I have the decision to decide whether or not I want to go first or I want you to go first. And because I'm the type of guy who likes to say second is best, Ryan, you are up with your opening statement of why Jason Williams was the best point guard for the Sacramento Kings.
Jason Williams, in my eyes, is one of the best passers I've ever seen. This guy had all sorts of creative behind the back, no-look passes, bounce passes between people's legs, all over the place. This guy was flashy. He had great court vision. He was a crafty passer. He was a great ball handler, great teammate. I love watching this guy play. Jason Williams. White chocolate. He was good.
All right, so is that your opening statement?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let me get into mine. Kings fans, pure loving, all you who love the Kings, watching the Kings court right now, you know the right answer to this question. This isn't even a real versus because there's only one winner. Mike Bibby is hands down the best point guard the Kings have ever had. Why? Well, for one, he stays healthy. Let's not forget about that. Through 6 seasons with the Sacramento Kings, only in one season did he play less than 80 games. Only in one season did he play less than 80 games. In 3 of those seasons, he played 82 games. He did not miss one. He stays consistent. He hits the big shots. He gets the chemistry with the team. What else could go wrong with this guy? Mike Bibby, pure shooter. Each year he proved he can get better with a 3-point shot. Throwing out some numbers just really quick. With his 3-point percentages compared to Jason Williams' 3-point percentages here. Jason Williams in his first 3 years with the Sacramento Kings, from 3-point range only, 31%. 28%, 31%. Mike Bibby from 3-point range, 37%, 40%, 39%. Mike Bibby is shooting 10% better from deep. He's a deep threat. You guys want to get into passing. That's going to be one of the biggest things is the comparison. Jason Williams is such a great passer. His first 3 seasons, I'll give it to him. 6 assists. 7.3 assists, and then he drops back down to 5.4 assists on those 3 seasons. Mike Bibby, through all 6 seasons, only, I believe, in 1 season he got less than 5 assists a game. There's 1 season where he had 6, but through 6 seasons with the Kings, only once did he get less than averaging 5 assists a game. This guy just stays consistent. He hits the big shots. You can't go wrong with choosing Mike Bibby. All right, everyone. This is the part of the show versus where Ryan and I get to ask each other questions, basically back and forth between what he said and what I said, or basically just a question that he thinks of that will possibly mess me up. So, Ryan, go ahead and go first because you got to go first. I'll let you ask the first question, unless you want to defer it to me.
I got one. I think Mike Bibby was a great player. Everyone knows he was a great player. But what I see in Mike Bibby is sometimes his shooting was actually part of his weakness because the ball movement sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes became stagnant because Mike Bibby wanted to hit the big shot. Same thing with a similar guy that we know today, Isaiah Thomas, does the same deal. Sometimes he overthinks it, and he's kind of deliberate to a fault at times. And he's not incredibly quick, so yeah. So what do you think about him being deliberate to a fault and not being incredibly quick and sometimes making too many shots, taking too many?
I'm glad you brought that up. You say he shoots, erratically at times and stuff like that, but I mean, if you had to compare it to Jason Williams, I have his percentages here for field goals, just in case you brought this up. Field goal percentage wise, Jason Williams through his first 3 seasons from the field, not 3, from the field, 37%, 37%, 40%. Mike Bibby, with his first 3 seasons with the Kings, 45%, 47%, 45%. So, yes, there are probably games where you saw Mike Bibby shoot a bit too much. Or there were possibly games where you saw Mike Bibby take over because his hands caught on fire and he could not miss. But is that really a problem? Because let's also take this into account. Jason Williams, his best season with the Kings is when they had a 55-win season, correct? They went 55-27. Mike Bibby, first season with the Kings, Western Conference Finals, 61 wins. You get more wins with Mike Bibby than you do with Jason Williams. His shooting percentages are on point. They're higher than Jason Williams's. He's a 3-point threat, and he stays consistent. Yes, he doesn't get the flashy pass, but he gets there. So for those who say, like you said, about his shot being erratic, I say you got to let a guy shoot at some point. He can't always be passing. But if he has a hot hand and how well that ball moved, I mean, let's be honest. Vlade Divac was the point guard of the Kings. Let's not get that wrong. When Mike Bibby showed up, Vlade Divac was the point guard. Even Chris Webber, who averaged 4.8 assists at one time, would be the point guard. Mike Bibby was just another man passing the ball, and he was a scoring threat just as much as he was a leader on that floor. So that's what I would have to say to shooting is he was better than Jason Williams. All right. So do you have another question for me?
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, they pretty much had the same team. So I would think it would be the other player. Don't you think that their wins would be, since they won more games with Mike Bibby, wouldn't you think that would be more because of the younger players developing more into better players other than just Mike Bibby coming to the Kings?
Well, that's kind of a tough question because Mike Bibby was the one who led the team. Let's be honest, he was the point guard. He came in the clutch situations. He would hit the big three, the big shots. Like I said, they had more wins when he was there in one season than Jason Williams did in 3 seasons, with his best season having 55 wins. They went further in the playoffs. Okay, you know what? You're right. The younger players did develop. But again, when you think of the Sacramento Kings, do you really think of how young Hito Turkoglu was and how he developed into being what he is now, and now he's gone. He's on steroids or something. I don't know what he's doing. And then, the team was led by Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, Vlade Divac, Peja Stojakovic, and Doug Christie. That's the core everyone remembers. And, of course, you have the 6-man Bobby Jackson. So, yeah, you could say, the young guys developed. But, I mean, who was really the ones leading this team? And that was that starting 5 and their 6-man whose jersey sits behind you. So that's what I'd have to say to that. All right, so now it's my turn to ask you a couple questions on Jason Williams. And I have one great one. Jason Williams is a great player. I'm a big fan of Jason Williams. White chocolate, you brought it up. Great passer. Is his passing overrated?
I would say no, because if a player passes as well as Jason Williams, Steve Nash, or any of those other players that pass like that, like Magic Johnson, they get the other players fired up with those passes. They get them fired up. They know that they're going to get the ball if they get open, so there's more ball movement. Guys are breaking harder on screens. They just get pumped up about that, and it's a very, very exciting style of basketball to play. So I don't think it's overrated.
Okay. Those are good points. So I have one more question referring back to the Jason Williams thing here. Jason Williams proved he's not a good shooter. I mean, I brought up the numbers. He can't shoot the deep ball, so he was never a deep threat. Other than passing, compared to Mike Bibby, I mean, what is the big difference between the two? I mean, Mike Bibby, he averaged 5 assists consistently, and even had a season where he had the same amount of assists as Jason Williams in his first season. But he stayed consistent. He never went from 6 to 7 and then dropped back down to 5. He had 5.4, 5.3, 5.4, 6, 5.2, 4.7, which is basically, if we round that up, 2.5. I mean, what's the big difference between the two of them passing?
It's the creativity with the passes.
But is that a big port for winning games? Is that
It can be because think about it. If everyone knows when you're going to pass it, like Mike Bibby, he's a great player. I know he made good passes, but the thing is if you know how the guy passes and you don't come up with any new ideas on how to get the ball to your teammates, they can get picked off very easily in this league. And you've seen that from a lot of players that telegraph their passes all the time. And that's the difference between Jason Williams' passing and Mike Bibby's passes is Mike Bibby's is easier to telegraph than Jason Williams because you don't know when Jason Williams is going to pass it, and you didn't know how he's going to do it.
Could that be a default? You say just like Mike Bibby. I know this is probably an extra question that you weren't expecting because I usually say 1 or 2 for verses, but to piggyback off of what you said Mike Bibby telegraphs his passes, which could be a default because he cannot be as flashy as Jason Williams. On the counterpart of that, Jason Williams was flashy. You know, he had the elbow pass. You know,
Yeah.
It was pretty fly. He was a fly dude. But, you know, could that be a default on the offensive end where, like you said, the defenders didn't know when he was passing? Maybe at times the offensive players didn't know he was passing. Couldn't that have been a problem as well?
It could if you didn't practice with him enough, if you didn't know his tendencies. You know, it's knowing your personnel, your other players on the team. That's what I think it is. So it could if you didn't know the guy, but if you know what he does and if you know who he is, I don't think it's much of a problem.
All right. Well, Ryan, we've come to that show where we got to bring up our last closing argument. So give these viewers, this viewing audience of all Kings fans, one more reason, one more maybe 15 or 30-second reason why Jason Williams is hands down the best point guard of the Sacramento Kings.
Jason Williams is the best point guard that the Sacramento Kings have ever seen because of his ability to find the open man, because that is the job of the point guard, is to get the other players involved, make plays, make sure, keep the other players on the other team thinking, guessing, making them off balance. That is what a point guard is supposed to do, and Jason Williams did it better than Mike Bibby.
Okay, my closing argument is this. Mike Bibby is consistent. After every 5 assists, there was not one season where Mike Bibby had more than 2.5 turnovers a game. Jason Williams had 2.9 his first season, 3 the following season, and then had a 2 turnovers a game that third season, the last season with the Kings, when only averaging 6 assists, 7 assists, and 5 assists. So basically, if you tally that all up, he really only got 3 assists, 4 assists, and then back to 3 assists again throughout the 3 seasons. Where Mike Bibby consistently got 3 assists each game, each season. So he's basically right there statistically passing-wise with Jason Williams. Mike Bibby is a scoring threat. He comes up big for big shots. You can bring up the numbers for points-wise. You know, the Kings scored more points with Mike Bibby on the team than they did with Jason Williams. And defensively, they didn't lose much because Mike Bibby's not a great defender at all by all means. Jason Williams has quick hands so he can steal the ball. I'll give that to him. But Mike Bibby collaborated with the team to where they gave up 97 points per game, where with Jason Williams, he gave up 95.9. So it was only basically a point difference. Mike Bibby came into a team who, you know, basically loved Jason Williams. The franchise loved Jason Williams. Chris Webber didn't even want to come to Sacramento. Saw Jason Williams play and said, okay, this guy can ball. We all know this. He's explained this before. But then let's not also forget this. Chris Webber was asked on the open court on NBA TV, who do you like playing better with? You know what he answered? Mike Bibby. So come on, Kings fans. Let's be smart about it. I can go into more stats here. I got everything here. Division champions first year with Mike Bibby. All I'm trying to say is Mike Bibby comes in clutch. He stays consistent. He stays healthy. He stays ready. And he's a threat anywhere he is on the floor. So that's my closing argument. And our episode for today of the Kings Court. So, Ryan, where can people find you on Twitter? And if you want to throw in a little something that we probably would have missed.
Well, they can find me on Twitter at King Hernandez, and they can find me on the Kings app as King Hernandez. And as always, we're Kings fans. We love the Kings. We love talking about the Kings. And yeah, back to you, man.
All right, guys, you can find me on Twitter at VM Center, on the Kings app at VM Center. Be sure to check out the 3 sites that I named early in the show, fansided.com, SacKingsNation.com, GoldenGateSports.com for all your Kings news. I just wrote a new article today talking about how DeMarcus Cousins might be sliding back to the power forward spot. Go ahead and check that out on SacKingsNation.com. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Let us know how you like this versus. Hit that like button. Hit that thumbs up button. It really does help. And if you haven't done so yet, become a subscriber. Become more involved with the Kings Court. We love having you guys. During the next episode, we will be having a question with James Hand, so you guys can ask him questions that we'll ask him during the show. To get your questions in, email the show at SKN Articles. Email either me or Ryan. Ryan, again, your email is at King Hernandez Ryan. Mine is at VM Center. Or you can leave your questions on the Kings app. If you do on the Twitter, put hashtag AskJames, and we'll for sure get it on the show. Again, I appreciate all of you guys for watching, making this all happen, the views you guys have been putting onto this show. Ryan, you joining the show, I really appreciate having you on. You're always right there, ready for emails, ready for conversations. I appreciate that. Fans, you're always giving your input on the articles, on the site. Everywhere we're going and transitioning, you are right there with us, and that's why I love doing these shows and doing all these articles, so I appreciate it. Peace out. Till next time, Kings fans. Monday, Cowbell Kingdom's James Ham. Peace. Ryan, I'll see you on Monday.